Hey everybody, welcome to another conversation. This is so cool. This Zoom room has witnessed some of the most beautiful things that I've ever experienced, where people who don't know each other, don't even know that they exist 15 seconds prior, come together in this room and share with each other many times as we feel like I feel like I've known these people my whole life. With my guest today, her enthusiasm almost couldn't allow us not to know each other a little bit. So I had to just close. I had to just say, don't say anymore, don't say anymore, because I want to know you. But I could feel the excitement and the enthusiasm of her energy and just wanting to have this conversation. And what a beautiful, sweet, innocent, kind presence I felt from her. And so I do know that much about her. I also do know that she's married because her husband will come on right after this conversation. He'll be the next conversation we'll have. But that's about it. So I really want to now take the honor and the privilege to introduce you and me to Danni DanDan Gadigan. And Danny, welcome to 50 Conversations.
Thank you so much, Danny. um, I just had a moment that I felt like I was talking to God right now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What did he say about me? Tell him that, like, if he's there.
No, I meant you're good. You're
Oh,
like, because you got the white background, and then you.
I said, oh.
God loves you, Danny. God loves you. You know that.
Okay, you got me scared there for a minute. I thought he was like, telling me it's all over. Uh, Hey, it's very rare that I have a guest on my show that I'll never forget what her name is because your name and my name are the same. So, Danny and Danny, that's going to be easy. So, Danny, because we don't know you, will you take a few minutes and just tell us who you are and what's important to you, please?
Sure. So I am an actress, and I also, my husband and I have a production company, and I also do bookkeeping. I'm a new mom, so I sometimes feel like I'm spread pretty thin, but
Yeah.
I do have a lot of passion to encourage others, and I do love just encouraging others to be themselves, and I love listening to um, I love listening to things that strengthen my mindset. And I'm on a journey, and I think like when I met you, it all just sometimes the knowledge that you're learning, and then the people that are coming into your life, it really confirms something. And I think God really confirmed God really confirmed that for me in this season, that I'm supposed to be working on myself, and I want to be the best me for my family, um, and then also my friends, that I can like in some of our messages you said elevate, so that has been a word in my mind that has been really special to me. I want to be the one that elevates my family, and not the one that gets sucked into like a negative cycle of thoughts and the everyday just kind of mundane things. Or I want to rise
Yeah.
above that.
What a beautiful. But but for those of you who are listening, already just listen to the quality and the tone of her voice. Can you feel the sweetness that just oozes from every word that she says and the gentleness that comes through the vibration of her voice? You can tell so much from about a person just from listening to the voice of a person. And there's such a kindness and a sweetness and a innocence and a humility in Danny's voice that it really touches me, even if as I listen to
I'm gonna cry.
it.
Thank you, Danny.
And you're more than welcome to cry. There's probably lots of tears in there. So if those tears need to come out, you're welcome to have them come out here. So when you said, go
There's
ahead.
more of that. There's more of that acceptance, um, throughout. Just not even judging someone, like, why are they crying? Why are they so emotional? And for me, um, I love my mom so much. Like, it's not to say anything bad about her, but she told me growing up, just like, be strong, don't cry. Don't laugh so loud. And I'm
Yeah,
like the loudest laugher and the like most easily to cry. So I
yeah,
kind of suppressed that for a long time. But
yeah.
again, like I was telling you, I want to be more true to me and I just want to be more free and genuine. So I love that you just say it's okay. Just let that come up. If it comes up, it's perfect. It's supposed to be there in that moment. I just
Well,
love how
well, well, one of the things I love about a person that can express their feelings is that we live in a world where people don't express their feelings. And so, whereas it might be a swing from one side to the other, I think it's important for people who don't know how to express their feelings to see somebody who can express their feelings. And for neither one of them to judge each other, but in coming together, just through conversations like this, through dialogues like this. And part of what my hope is that some of the people that listen to these conversations will get in touch with the people that are having these conversations and will start to fall in love with each other and just love each other and just be there for each other and hold each other and help each other by just not by teaching or changing or fixing or trying to make anything happen, but when two souls come together into one soul, as friendships, as lovers, as business partners, whatever that is, some part of each of them needs to fall away because only what belongs can remain. And so for a person like you who feels their feelings so much, I would love for people who don't know how to feel to be able to be around you and feel, so that you could, just by your very nature, it's not, you don't have to teach them how to feel, you just feel, and in your feeling they have permission to feel too. So be
Okay.
strong in being yourself because it's beautiful.
Something that came up is when we try to change people and we try to fit them into what we perceive they should be,
Yeah,
the less they want to change,
100%.
the more they fight and resist.
Yeah,
But like you said, if you just allow and listen, um, and what you're doing with these conversations, you're just allowing, you're listening, you're encouraging, you're bringing out the best of who that person is. And like I want to use my husband as an example. We're like the bane of each other's existences.
yeah, yeah,
um, but now I'm really changing. I'm like, why is it that I'm so triggered by Jeff? We're together all the time. I'm really triggered, and he's triggered by me. So if I allow him, which I've been doing, and you know, I notice that as I change myself, that there's no way that the people closest to you will not change their reaction to how you react to them or how you respond to them. And
yeah,
that's just such a gentle way of doing it. Whereas, especially I think Asian parents, like you see the tiger moms, and they want their kids to be a doctor. That's their goal. They want them to have straight A's. But what if they don't, like me, you know? What if they're artists?
yeah,
You know? Well, yo-yo ma, there's that. But what if they just they love to do something and then like here it comes again. And
it's okay.
I try to understand that too. It's like it resonates with me because um, there's so many people that have unfulfilled potential in what they really were made to do
Yeah,
because somebody else wants to put pressure on them to fulfill their own dream and not support them to fulfill the dream that God has had for them.
yeah, it's one of the things that I don't really understand about the life that we live, of why we try so hard to make people be something other than what they are, and why we ourselves want to be something other than we are, when we were given the beautiful gift of being able to come into this world as we are, and showcase in our mosaic this one beautiful piece that's you or that's me, and then coming together, all these beautiful pieces of the mosaic come together and we create something far more exquisite. But
Mhm.
when we try and change and we try and fix, and I really believe there's a new paradigm that's coming, because we live in a world in a very vertical reality where gurus fix and self-help people help and teachers teach and leaders lead and um, managers manage. When you look at a mosaic, there is no height difference, there is no verticality, it's all horizontal. And
Mhm.
just in the simple act of pieces coming together, broken pieces, whole pieces, big and small, all different colors, all different textures, all different sizes, there's something beautiful happens just in the coming together of people, just in the coming together of each other. And there's something we don't really understand yet about how powerful and mysterious the moment is of union, of when we are literally unified and united with another soul. So we sort of understand it when we make love to somebody, because making love to somebody, we can feel that chemistry. But you don't need to make love to another person to connect to another person. You can feel their spirit, right?
Yes, that's so beautiful, Danny.
Thank you. Tell me what makes you happy.
What makes me happy is I want to say seeing my daughter happy, seeing my family happy. And now I'm realizing that the happiness, when I do the things that really resonate with me, that makes me happy.
Yeah,
So
that's beautiful. Um, if money weren't an object, what would you want? What would you love to do?
I would love to be the an actress still,
That's
um,
great.
and also possibly a speaker, a children's book author.
Wow. Wow. Have you written anything with children?
I have written something that a few years back I wrote just like a kind of like a note to myself. I was inspired at that moment. And it's so important to write things down when you're inspired because you'll forget it sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I wrote that and I saved it. And one time I was a weather girl in China. And
Wow.
so uh, when I did that, I had an opportunity to speak to a group of maybe 15 to 20 children.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most special experiences of my life. They asked me a lot of questions. There was like a Q&A.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was speaking about weather presenting. And it was just the most special, like, I don't know how to explain it. Just the most rewarding, one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had, just seeing the kids like be themselves. And then afterwards, the teacher said, you know, they all ask questions and they don't always do that. Like,
Wow.
you made it safe for them to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I think like I love I love being able to bring out make it a safe place of no judging, just allowing the other person to talk about their fears,
Yeah.
and then I'll talk about my fears, and then we could
Beautiful.
do that together.
Let's go into our lightning round. If you've heard some of them, you've heard.
Okay, I'm like, you're like, you're like, yeah, cry, but this is a lot. No,
No, no, you're because if you listen to our lightning round, it's never really a lightning round. We pop in, we pop out, but it's just a few questions that we ask that
yeah,
just gets right. So, are you a dog person or a cat person?
I'm a dog person.
Yeah, good. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea. Wow. And would you say you are a person that is in the box or someone who's out of the box?
out of the box, but sometimes I have to pretend to be in the box.
So, okay, good. I love that. What happens? What are those moments where you are out of the box and you have to pretend to be in the box? What type of moments are those?
I think around my parents.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think just still, even though I'm a grown woman, I still have that tendency, and that's probably something that I'm still working through, to hide areas from them that I would. They have a very successful business, and that's what I do the bookkeeping for. So
gotcha.
I think I have to feel like sometimes they're super successful in what they do and they want me to be where they are, so
Yeah,
I have to also just, um appease that side of them, if that
yeah.
makes any sense.
Totally, totally. No, totally. Do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm the only child.
You're the only child. So it's even more pressure because they have this beautiful business, successful, that they probably want to hand over to somebody and they think that would be great if that were you, right? Would that be, is that what they think, sort of?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
100% what they think.
Yeah. And it just, does it just not feel like it is you? Is that what happens?
Yeah, I feel like it it isn't me.
Yeah.
It isn't me, and I respect how hard they work, and I love them so much. They're really proud of themselves, and I'm so proud of them. But I do have to do something that resonates with me,
Totally. Totally.
and I want my daughter also to learn that through whatever she wants to do later on. We want to bring out the best in her.
I love that.
And I told my parents, I said, well, one day, she might want to be an actress. And then my mom said, well, I couldn't control you. How am I going to control her?
The question is if one day she'll want to take over your parents' business and how you'll be with that, right?
That's what their dream is. They said, hurry up and grow up.
That's right. Just get some shoots. Um, I know both of these are important, but I'd like you to choose one of them. Do you think it's more important for you to have the to be able to speak your voice, or do you believe it's more important for you to hold the space for other people to speak their voice and you to listen to them?
That's a really interesting question. I think actually, now that we've had this conversation, it's more important for you to listen
Hmm.
and hold this space. You put that more eloquently. Can you say that one more time?
Well, I just said, do you think it's more important for you?
Yes.
Because everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody has something to say, and everybody has a place that they want to speak. And when they don't feel listened to, they they have this strong desire to speak what their truth is, so that the world will hear it.
Mhm.
And then there's also people that have this strong desire to just hold the space for other people to be able to speak their truth. And in a perfect world, there would be the same amount of people speaking their truth in this, and then we would alternate maybe and go back and forth. And we can do both. But just to get a sense of the flavor of what's more important to you, which would that be?
You stumped me. I think the second one is more
The
important.
second one,
Mhm.
to listen to other
To
people.
listen, yes, because
Okay.
a lot of times people need to be listened to,
Yeah.
and that in that they work out their own problems.
Yes.
My therapy is so powerful. But yeah, to hold that space and make it safe for others to be heard,
Love that.
because
Love it.
in that, like what you're doing in that, um, they can express themselves,
Yeah.
and yeah, So
Do you feel like you fit into the world pretty easily, or do you feel like you really don't fit into the world?
I feel like a little bit of both. I feel like I don't fit in the world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because in doing these shows and asking that question over and over again, the huge majority, huge numbers and percentages say to me that they don't feel like they fit into the world, that they feel different than the world around them. And so I wonder why, with so many people, and maybe it's just the maybe the type of people that respond to me or the people that don't fit into the world. Maybe that's just what it is. They see this guy, and they just say, "Okay, he's obviously a misfit. I can relate to him, and he can relate to me." Um, but I wonder why we try so hard to fit into a world that is not ours, when there's a large majority of us that don't fit in to the world, and why we aren't just happy to be one of those interesting pieces that makes the world interesting to look at by having pieces that don't fit in. Why do you think that is?
I think it's again excuse I think it's
I'll sip with you.
oh yay. um the conditioning and how we were raised to be a certain way, and that way isn't even it's not even, the to fit into a box or to keep us contained. Even the way that some public schools operate, and there's amazing teachers, and but it's also one size fits all
Yeah.
a lot of times. And um, again, with the Chinese community, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, like all those really high prestige jobs, um, you get a lot of applause. Everyone loves you,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Which is awesome. It's very stable and very, very needed. And you have to work very hard to get there. Um, but it's also not for everyone. So to put that on a pedestal, it's just it's not helpful overall to let people just be. And I think people are happiest when they're just being.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. I want to come out of the lightning round for a minute because I want to just ask you something. Because as you were talking, I just felt something come through me, and it was, we ask people, "How are you?"
Hmm.
And we get a, great, fine, good, you know and we go on to the next question, and most people don't feel like they have the space or the freedom to really say how they're doing.
Hmm.
I want to ask you from a place where I have real love for you, and I really want to know how you are, and I want to ask you, how are you? We're in a world where there's coronavirus. We're in a world where our president is calling it the Chinese virus. We're in a world where black people are standing up for their rights and saying we want to be heard and listened to. We're in a world just removed a couple of years from a Me Too movement where were standing up and saying, you can't treat me like that anymore. We're in a world that over the last few years has gone through a major upheaval. Religions, institutions are, I mean, there's so many places that you can't look without finding something decaying or falling apart. How are you in the world that we're living in right now?
Honestly, scared.
Yeah,
Scared. Even more so for my daughter than
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Um, And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm
It-
learning that's okay to.
if you can, what are you scared of?
So the one that all of what you said is so relevant and it's so raw. The one that really hit home was the president calling it the China virus.
Yeah.
And the Black Lives Matter. That being a minority
Yeah.
um, is has not been easy as a child. I think for me, my parents came here on a scholarship, so they didn't know the culture very well. They were learning as they um, as they went along, and I was definitely called a lot of names, and someone said my face looked like a semi truck ran over it, and
Oh, wow.
those things, as you know, I think there's people that have experienced so much worse. Um, it just makes me sad that a little a little girl had to experience that, and she didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I think um, if we could pass down knowledge to our kids that if someone is mean to you or says something that really hurts your heart, it's not about you, it's about the other person.
Beautiful.
And that person needs uh, prayers, help. He's hurting inside.
Yeah.
And he was also taught a different way from
Yeah.
his parents.
Yeah. For those of you listening at home who don't have the privilege of being a minority, I want you to feel from our beautiful feeler how painful it is, some of the things that we can say and do. And we may not even intentionally mean them with malice, as much malice as they come across it. But you can't say to somebody their face looks like it's been run over by a semi truck because their nose is different than your nose, and think that you're not going to hurt somebody. And you can't say things about people because of the color of their skin that is degrading and think you're not going to hurt somebody. And it literally is just time to stop. It's literally just time to see behind the outside and the superficial differences, because I don't think there's one person listening here, no matter what color, what religion, what country, what border, that when their child is sick or is hurting doesn't feel pain. I don't think there's one person here who, when they fall in love and find the person they fall in love with, doesn't feel joy. I think there's not one person here who feels the suffering of a family member and doesn't suffer. So, when will we start to realize that we are not things? We're people. We're one race, the human race. And to me, that's the beauty of the image of the mosaic, even though that's not what the book is about. But the image, by its very nature, shows all different color pieces, all different shapes and sizes, all different textures, all different from all different places coming together. And its beauty is in its diversity. It's made more beautiful by the fact that more things are different. The more different it is, the more beautiful it is. And a lot of the pieces are broken. But it's in our brokenness coming together that we create something that's really whole and really magnificent. And it's such a beautiful image that I want to take into the world to help create a new world. If simple pieces of ceramic or glass have the knowledge to be able to see the beauty in their diversity, why can't we?
I love that. And what came up for me was when you were talking, was it would be not as interesting if the pieces were all one color.
Yeah.
If the pieces were all one shape,
Yeah.
it would be a totally different
Boring.
big picture.
Yeah. Totally boring. And yet, you know, I've had conversations with some of my black brothers and sisters, and they say even the skin color of the color black,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're judged by. Like darker black people are judged by lighter black people. And it's just this crazy thing of when will we ever get over this stupid thing that's our color of our skin. White people, I spent every day of my life when growing up sitting in the sun trying to darken the color of my skin. Right? And so how can I think that people that naturally have that color skin are worse than me? I was trying every day to have that shade of skin. Anyway,
You may not have known this, but also in Asian cultures, you're judged by the darkness of your skin.
yeah, so I did speak to someone from an Asian culture who told me the same thing, and I had never known that before.
Yeah.
It's wild.
The lighter, the better a lot of times. But
Yeah,
now Asian Americans, the tan, it's coming in style now. So I'm like,
I love it. I love it. Um, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask just so I don't get surprised. Um, do you operate from your head more or your heart more?
my heart.
Yeah, I sort of sense that. Um, and would you say you're a leader or a follower?
A little bit of both. I think you have to be a little bit of both. For me, yeah.
Tell me about that if you can.
Um, I think again, it's my husband is coming up. I have to be a follower of, you know, what what decisions he makes. And I also have to be a leader in the household, is to set the tone as well. That's why I'm changing my mindset. Also in women in our small groups, I feel like sometimes I'm leading the small group and sharing my experiences, but also when they share their experiences, I just get so much out of
Yeah,
listening. And so I think it just all day long for me, it's both.
love it. Love it. Thank you. I'm happy I asked you to explain. What a beautiful explanation. Do you think people are more different than they are alike, or more alike than they are different?
They're more alike,
Yeah.
which
Uh,
is funny because we feel so different. But
yeah.
then when it comes down to it, we all want the same things.
I think 98% of the people that I've asked that question to have said we're more alike than we are different. And yet we seem to, even though we've been taught united we stand, divided we fall, even though we've been taught that we're to see the similarities, we feel so we point out our differences so much more easily than we point out our similarities. Danny, do you believe the world around us speaks to us as well? Do you believe the universe is speaking to us? Do you believe our bodies are speaking to us? Do you believe our workplace is speaking to us?
Yes, I do. I used to be New Age before I was Christian, but now I feel like God is sending signs and confirmation, and um, it's also what you make of it. The same person can see the same thing, but mean something totally different.
Yeah,
And it's paying attention. Our bodies are telling us things all the time. Um, about dangerous situations, really great situations, go for it. Something that really resonates with you, or I'm trying to understand why I'm so easily triggered to get emotional, and I love that part of me. I want to understand that more. So our bodies are telling us all the time when you get angry, and I'm learning that emotions they're labeled as negative and positive, but they're the best informational systems
Yeah.
is what I'm learning. And they just tell you so much about what a situation means to you. And when you're angry, usually it's a boundary violation, or it's something you're passionate about that is not lining up with what's happening. So I'm learning so much about just trying to understand where these emotions are coming from.
Love it. What a beautiful work to be able to do, to be able to see that and watch that and see what triggers what and how that happens and what you can do and what it all means. I mean, what a beautiful thing.
Because
So,
oh yeah,
go, no, you go ahead.
because before I wasn't paying attention to what was coming up, so I would project it all onto the closest person to me, and that would
Yeah.
be before my parents, and now my husband. So I think that would be so great to teach kids, even just at a young age, that when you're feeling upset, like, don't push it away right away and blame someone else.
Yeah.
Just own it. It's coming from within. Own it, figure it out,
Yeah.
and then you can move on.
I want to share with you a story. I'm going to try and say it quickly because I share it a lot, but I want to just share it with you if I can. I have the honor of my biggest teacher being my daughter, and my daughter happens to be developmentally delayed. So she can't have a conversation like you and I are having. She tries, but no one understands her. But because she and I are so close, she counts on me to understand her. And most times I do. Somehow there's some magic that happens in our relationship together where somehow I understand things that people don't understand with her. But sometimes I don't. And Danny, when I don't understand her, she then raises her voice and says it louder, thinking maybe in her mind that I just didn't hear her. But it wasn't the volume of what she said that made me not understand her. It was the clarity of what she said that wasn't clear enough. And to her credit, sometimes she raises her voice, and in raising her voice, she changes the way she pronounces something, and I hear it a little bit more. But most times I don't. Most times I don't. That isn't what happens. But every once in a while, when she says it louder and I don't understand her, then she'll go into a tantrum. And it can be in the middle of a store, it could be at the dining room table, it could be while we're talking to people at our house, it could be walking down the street, it could be going to the beach, it could be in the car driving, it could be um, anywhere, anytime, anyhow. And when that doesn't work for her, then what she does is she tries to attack me. She runs and tries to rip my shirt or bite me, and she doesn't do it with other people, she does it just with me, because she just believes that I can understand her and knows that I can understand her. And I used to think that I'm pretty intelligent and pretty sensitive and pretty, I have a good feel for things, but I couldn't figure this out. And it went on for about 15 years. And finally, in the midst of my desperation, I looked at her and I just said, Elisa, I love you so much. I can't do this anymore. I just don't understand your words. And I know you're frustrated and I know you're upset with me. I just can't, but I can't live up to what you want. I have an idea. Will you please try and talk to me without using words? Find another way to do it and tell me what you need. And from the midst of her anguish and her rage, she looked at me with this smile that melted my soul. And she said, I am, Daddy. And I looked at her and I said, what the heck do you mean you are, Daddy? Like, how are you doing that? Tell me, why have you waited this long? Tell me how you're doing that. And she put her finger to the side of her head like this. And I understood instantly that what she was saying was that she was putting thoughts into my head. And I said to her, you little son of a gun, have you been putting thoughts into my head? And she went, yes, Daddy. And she did what you did. She laughed. But her laugh was the laugh of a release of years and years and years of tension. And that laugh became contagious, and just she would laugh and make me laugh, and I would laugh and make her laugh. And we laughed for about 10 minutes together, just uncontrollably, with tears pouring down our eyes, just happy, beautiful laughter. Danny, do you know from that minute she never once raised her voice, she never once tantrumed, and she never once attacked me again? Because now she was heard. She found a way to that I could hear her, and I found a way to understand her. If that would have been the end of the story, I would have been so thrilled, because I would now have a way to relate to my daughter. But I'm a scientist, and I took the idea out and I said, why don't I try that in the workplace? Why don't I try that with other people? Why don't I try that in all situations? And I went out and I looked and I saw it happens everywhere. When people don't get heard, they yell. When they yell and they don't get heard, they try and disrupt and create tension, or an unbearable situation in their workplace, in their marriage, in their life. They just they try and disrupt something. And when that disruption doesn't work, they start to attack. And they attack. People blow up buildings. They shoot people in a square. They start to call people of other races names that are ugly. And I realized from my 30-year-old developmentally delayed daughter, it never has to go there. If all we would do would be able to say to somebody, I want to hear you so much, and I just can't understand you. You don't need to scream at me. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need to try and attack me. Just, I can't understand you the way you're saying it. Let's find a way that you can say it to me that I can understand it, because I want to understand you. I love you. I want to hear what you're saying. Help me. I think it would change the world. What do you think?
If everyone could hear that message, it changed my world.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And what do you think the world is trying to say to us with all the things that are going on? Because the world itself is doing it, in my mind. It's trying to say something, it didn't work. It screamed it didn't work. It's creating chaos now. It's not working. It's destroying itself if we don't do something. What do you think it's trying to say to us? If we would only hear, it would stop.
Listen.
Listen.
Listen and pause. Do things differently.
Yeah. So now you have this space perfectly aligned for you, because everybody that's still with us now is ready to listen. What's the one thing you want to say to people right now that maybe you've never been able to say before, or you've said before and just don't feel like it's been heard?
That story was so powerful. I'm still thinking about that story about you and your daughter. It's so good. Um, um, I would say, don't be afraid to be yourself.
Beautiful.
It may seem scary, but what's scarier is not being yourself
I
and
love that.
yes, and not showing yourself to the world.
I love that. Danny, I want to thank you so much for showing up so authentically,
Thank you.
for being so vulnerable and honest and real, and for just being this beautiful presence you are. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. If people have fallen in love with you as I've fallen in love with you, how can they get in touch with you?
I have a YouTube channel called Fly Mommy Fly.
Okay.
and also Facebook, Danni Gadigan. So,
Fabulous. And will you send me, please, the links to that and a headshot for me? So send me all your social media links, how people can get in touch with you. And I want to just be able to put that there so that people can, for those of you who are listening, and I know you're out there because you've talked to me about it, that say, I don't know how to feel. I feel like I've forgotten how to feel. You have somebody right here in front of you right now who certainly has not forgotten how to feel. Maybe it's time to have some time together. Maybe it's time just to, not so she can teach you how to feel, but just by being together, you will feel. And just spend time together. Figure out how to do that. Figure out how to help each other and support each other and give each other the prosperity we all seek and desire. And it's ours to own, it's what belongs to us. So I look forward to hearing from Danni and from hearing from you that, I contacted her and someone contacted me, and we started to have these dialogues together, or they joined my group, or I joined their group, or whatever the heck it is, where we start to commingle together, where we start to create this space, not to teach each other, but just to love each other, to just be with each other and hold each other. And in this age of coronavirus, where our arms have to be very long to hold each other, we can still hold each other vibrationally. I know it because she's held me vibrationally, and I can tell you that. And she's felt me hold her vibrationally, and I can tell you that. And so it doesn't take, and she's a stranger. Now I know her a little. But it doesn't take much. All it takes is the desire to hold the space for someone to be themselves and to just love on them and love on them and love on them and let them just come out. Is there any last thing you want to say before we go?
Just one thing. I just love. I want to say I love you, Danny. I love what you do. It is amazing how much work you've put into knowing yourself, writing your book, helping others, that have you have gained so much wisdom from listening to others, but you listen to yourself, and through that you create that space.
Yeah.
If someone is in their heads and not, with their leading with their heart, they're not knowing themselves fully, or keep on, understanding themselves, they're not going down that path. It's hard for them to create a safe space for other people to talk. But you do it so gracefully, and so it's like a wide open space. And it's beautiful. So it's like your background.
Thank you. Thank you. What kind and generous things to say. And I always, I want to tell you how much I hear you and I appreciate you and I thank you. And I always refer back to what a friend of mine said to me, that it's your goodness that sees my goodness. And without your goodness, you won't be able to see mine. So I just want to mirror back to you everything that you said, because it's really you seeing you when you look at me. And that is a perfect place for this conversation to close. Thank you again to you, Danni, for taking the time to show your heart, to be here, to be vulnerable, to be real, to be honest. For those of you who listen and have listened to all of these or some of these, please, if you like them, share them with your friends. This is a woman who is ready to feel even more deeply, more fully, more with more people. invite her into your life so that you can feel too. Until next time, until next conversation, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. And remember, stranger things have happened than talking to a stranger. I encourage you to go out and find people that you don't know and just ask them a simple question: how are you? And let them tell you. It's the easiest thing in the whole world. Until next time, don't be a stranger. Ciao.
Ciao. God bless.